And I told her I don't care if he is her husband. Right now,
It's time to rise from the grave, pour yourself a cup, and enjoy the coffee crypt.
Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com. And a very special thank you to our Patreon subscribers. And while we still have your attention, be sure to check out the Dewey Pod Monster podcast, available where all podcasts are downloaded. The podcast's all about consumption, beer, music, movies, TV. Nothing is off limits. They're really fun. Go check them out. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Coffee Crypt. Just me, Steve, here with you today. Hope your weekend has been amazing. We have lots to cover this week. Handful of trailers, handful of news. Some news I'm not very excited to talk about, but we're going to talk about it because that is what we do here on the Coffee Crypt. Without further ado, our first trailer is for The Crow, the new adaptation of the graphic novel starring Bill Skarsgård. The first image came out of Bill in the full Crow getup, the makeup, the tats, all that stuff. People were split. There are Crow purists from that 1990s film. I can't say that I'm really one of them. I don't dislike The Crow. I'm just not a huge fan. So I'm pretty open to whatever they do. I thought the trailer seemed pretty fun. I mean, kind of had some generic sort of actiony, almost like John Wick vibes, with a little bit of dark fantasy to it. I hope that the horror and the fantasy elements are a little bit more ramped up. But I thought it looked kind of cool. I mean, I know the look is very, the look of the original, right, is very 90s goth grunge kind of, So it's hard to sort of do that in a modern sense without, I guess you could have done a period piece, right? But in this case, I think it works. Even the look, I would say the look isn't even really that modern anyway. It's just sort of a new look. And I saw some folks sort of saying it's much more aligned with some of the comic iterations. Although maybe not the original Crow. I guess there was a switch up, sort of typical superhero style where someone else picks up the mantle. I guess he kind of looks a little more like the second one. But I don't know. My faith is in Bill Skarsgård. I think he's phenomenal. He's got a good track record. It's just one for one. But, when it comes to portraying a character that's already pretty loved across the board, I think his Pennywise is really just incredible. But outside of that, he's just good in horror. So I totally trust him here with giving us a pretty good performance. But yeah, no, it looks fun. This is coming out June 7th. What are your thoughts? Are you excited for The Crow readaptation? I don't even want to call it a remake, reboot. I guess maybe a reboot. But, because anything that's, when there's already a source material, it's a new adaptation, right? I kind of almost make it akin to like musical revivals, right? It's just a new adaptation. Sometimes they put a little something different in there. So we'll see. But moving on, our next trailer was the, I guess, second full trailer, not teaser, of the first Omen. I think this looks pretty good. The first teaser I remember having a real nice style to it. I think some of it played backwards. The cinematography seems pretty beautiful for this one. It feels like a really competently made film, at least in terms of the technical side. We'll see about the writing and all that, once we actually watch the movie. But the Omen's another one that I'm not necessarily like obsessed with or like a purist. I think you could do a pretty solid prequel. There's some cool stuff going on too. Like there's some unrest with the church. There's like protests going on. So there seems to be some historical elements, I think. I don't know. I'll have to really do some research, but there's like protests and there's a lot going on. Definite callbacks to the original Omen with, this is all for you. But I like the idea of a young girl who is destined to be the mother of the Antichrist. And there's just a nice little approach to that. I know it's sort of, we've been there, but I don't, the actors really seem to be really, I don't know, enjoying the role based on the trailer. What I mean is, like, it feels pretty. It doesn't feel silly. I guess is what I'm saying. It feels pretty cool. So, that's the first Omen. That's going to be April 5th. So, just in time for Easter. Actually, I think I remember. Was it the new Omen? Was there a new? Yeah, the Omen remake, I think, was around Easter time as well. Right. I think it was like, yeah, it was 2006, right? Because I remember the 666. So maybe it wasn't Easter, but I think it was really like 666. They can't, June-ish. But I don't know. It seems exciting. So we'll see. Our next trailer for Late Night with the Devil. Yeah, I mean, that first teaser and trailer that came out, I was strapped in. The aesthetic for this one is really, really up my alley. This like 70s late night talk show, very yeah, just very late night. Obviously, is in the title. But we get a little bit more with this trailer. But it's definitely. I don't think it gives too much away. That's my fear. This is like the third trailer now, right? I mean, a teaser, trailer, second trailer, right? So by the time you get to the third trailer, you get nervous. I mean, I'm nervous by the first trailer for some movies, right? But especially like a third trailer situation is like, and it's just around the corner too. It's March 22nd. It's this month. It's like mere weeks away, not even. So, but I just love this idea of like, we get the sense of the story of like he's sort of desperate to keep the show successful. I wonder, it seems like we might even be going some like Faustian route of like the deal with the devil. He seems just desperate to keep it going, so maybe he invites the devil in. It seems like he's communicating with him. Like there's something about his past. There's some devil trickery happening. It doesn't seem to just be focused on this one girl that's possessed. It feels like a fresh take, and it's getting some great reviews and a particular accolade from Stephen King. So, if the King has given his approval, I am for sure buying it. So yeah, but that is March 22nd on Shudder. That's going to be a night one watch for me. Our next trailer is for a fan film. Did not hear about this until I was really like digging in for trailers and news to cover. It's The Spider. It's a fan film starring Chandler Riggs from The Walking Dead. It is a horror Spider-Man. I was probably one of the few people that actually like Brightburn, like the horror Superman. I really enjoyed it. I think it was rated R. Yeah, no, I can't remember if it was PG-13 or R. I think it was R because I remember it being pretty gory. But I just love this idea of just it's a villain origin story, but I mean, I guess they're going to become a villain just based on the trailer. It's sort of part of the premise. But wouldn't it be cool if we had like a superhero origin that we just were not expecting for them to turn, and that's just sort of where the story went? I mean, we get those superhero tales of like, they lean a little on to the dark side, or we get like anti-hero stories, or we get like characters like Jean Grey who kind of sort of become evil just via possession or overwhelming power, or I think of Jean Grey, or not even superhero related, but I always think of like Dark Willow is just a great example of a character sort of going off the deep end. Carrie, right? I mean, I don't know if you would call Carrie a villain, but she's certainly not. But I think through certain folks' eyes, from a certain point of view, for my Star Wars fans out there, they might appear as a villain. But this looks really fun. For a fan film, it looks really well shot. I mean, to get like an actor like Chandler Riggs, even though I mean he's not like he's not huge, but from The Walking Dead, I mean people know who he is. So I think he can kind of branch out. But this is cool. It's a really cool concept. I'm a big Spider-Man fan in general, so cool to see a different take on it. That's not necessarily like symbiote, like symbiote, um, Venom related villainy, right? This is sort of a different spin on that. Because you imagine, I mean, you think about it though, like you imagine people would kind of go a little mad. I mean, you get bit by a venomous spider, a radioactive spider, right? And it's messing with your like genes and your hormones, and like you're just going out of whack, right? I mean, if, things are going to go bad, I think, right? You know, we get some goofy things go bad with some Spider-Man antics, right? Him trying to learn how to climb up a wall, but you know, making some bad decisions, you know, really going down that dark route, um, you know, and not realizing what you're doing. Almost, I feel like it was kind of like a roid rage situation, right? But I don't know. I'm excited. There's no release date on that, coming soon, so just keep an eye on that. It seems fun. I don't know if it's going to be something that like maybe it'll be like a video. It's a short. It's a fan short, so I imagine it'll probably be like on YouTube or something. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Our last trailer is another one I hadn't heard about. I don't know if the trailer just came out because I saw some, maybe it was teasers before, but this is The Fetus, starring Lauren Rivera from Terrifier 2, Bill Moseley. And it's a young couple who are pregnant, and they use protection, and they're, you know, it's an accidental birth, unplanned pregnancy situation. In the trailer, we looks like the condom was not just broken, like really someone like it was probably like one of those like puncture sort of, I don't know, but they're pregnant. They don't plan to be. They're staying with Bill Moseley, this young couple who I don't know what they're. I couldn't. I watched the trailer a couple times. I don't know. I must have missed. I don't know who they're like, what their relation is to this old guy. But you know, they're not sure. Like, there's something wrong with the baby. Kind of typical Omini kind of story. But it's going to be a little more like ooey gooey demon baby. Like, you know, there's like, you know, what I like with some trailers, and chapter 2 did this, and there's a handful of trailers out that did that, but I always think of it as chapter 2, where you get like a little bit of like, you know, a couple of scenes in the front in the beginning, and then the rest of the trailer is just like one long scene. I love that. I love that. You just sort of get like one clip, and you get a total vibe for the movie. It doesn't give away too much, although the last shot sort of, well, you don't see the full. She's like giving birth, and like this creature is coming out of her, and but you don't see the full creature. You see like a little bit of like wiggly gooiness coming, but I don't know. I'm down for a little gross horror spin on The Omen or Rosemary's Baby, right? One of those. But yeah, no set date on this one either. This one is fall 24, fall of this year. But it feels, but on the end of the trailer, the link, or not link, but their website, thefetusfilm.com, and there's a call to action to try to get this into like your theaters. So I feel like there's a little bit of a campaign going on. So definitely support indie horror. You know, it feels like it's definitely a smaller film, but looks well shot. Creature, what we saw of it looks pretty cool. So, you know, support smaller films. You know, definitely. I hope we at least get a limited release. It'd be really cool if we could demand to see this movie in theaters. I mean, especially, Lauren Rivera sort of being the champion of smaller horror films now, little indie darling horror films, you know, with on the heels of Terrifier 2 and 3 coming out. So that'd be kind of cool. Sort of the indie scream queen, if we can call her that. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of it with the trailers. You know, we have doozy of news to talk about, and I'm really hesitant about covering this next one. As you can see, right? So Neve Campbell announces that she is reprising her role as Sidney Prescott in Scream 7. Kevin Williamson is directing, which is pretty cool for him. Guy Busick is writing. Vanderbilt and Busick are getting the story by credits. So I think really it's, you know, Vanderbilt is probably, you know, creating story plot ideas, right? It's like the outlines, all that stuff. And so Busick is really cracking down and writing the words. So this film is still being produced, distributed by Spyglass, and distributed by Paramount, right? The production company is Spyglass. And this is divisive. I mean, I think Scream fans, and it's one of my favorite franchises. I even tweeted this. I should be over the moon with this news. Like, this is cool. Like, Sydney's back. The creator of the story is directing. Like, who better than to sort of pick up the mantle from like Wes Craven than the guy who wrote the damn movie? Like, this is like a dream team scenario here. But sort of the looming specter of Spyglass, right? Was very disappointed in how they handled everything with Melissa Barrera. I do not think she should have been fired. It's hard to really be excited for a Scream film. I'm going to see this movie, but not in theaters and not through any means that are going to support Spyglass. I just don't feel comfortable. If you want to see it, power to you. I'm not going to shame you. That's not who am I to judge sort of situation, but I'm not comfortable seeing this movie in theaters, at least not legally anyway. Not to out myself there. But I will eventually see it through other means, just out of curiosity. But I just would love it if a different production company was in charge. So that is that. But story-wise, so I mean, diving into that, shifting from that, story-wise too, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, I love Nev Campbell. The original story with Sydney is great. We get her back in 4, get her back in 5. Give this woman a break. Just give this woman a break. I mean, how many times is she going to be targeted, right? Like, my gosh. How many family members, how many like family members of other people? I mean, it's wild. But anyway, I'm sure they'll come up with, I mean, if anyone can come up with a cool kind of clever way, it would be Kevin. He's not writing it, but I'm sure he's involved in the story. I'm sure. He produced 5 and 6, but I guess we'll see. We will see. But moving on to other news, Godzilla -1 brought home the Oscar, right, guys? Like, that's freaking awesome. Best visual effects. And so I believe this is the first Godzilla film to win an Oscar, an award of that high caliber, and much deserved. This is my favorite Godzilla film. It was so, man, I wish I saw it more than once in theaters. I really do. Is it even, is it out streaming yet? I'm going to get a 4K of this. I am so proud of Toho and everyone involved in this film. But I mean, who am I to be proud of them? But they should be proud of themselves. This is incredible. This film truly was like heart-wrenching and heartwarming and thrilling and scary and just all of the above. Like, this is how you do a creature feature. Is this movie? It really was just incredible. So just sharing my excitement with that news. Up next, Black Mirror is coming back for season 7. So it's going to be 6 new episodes in 2025, including in the announcement, there's going to be a sequel to USS Callister, which was the first episode in season 4, I believe, which is a fun one. That was with Jesse Plemons. He's like a programmer, and he gets everyone trapped in like a VR Star Trek sort of knockoff. It was everyone that was sort of like who wronged him, or he had trapped them all in there to like live out a Star Trek fantasy. So not to spoil the ending of that episode, if you haven't seen it, definitely go back. It's a good one. It's a really good one. It's definitely one of their like lighter episodes for sure, just in terms of tone. Not like flat out comedy, but it's definitely a fun one. It's sort of like there with like Nosedive with Bryce Dallas Howard, which I really enjoyed in terms of like tone. It gets a little dark here and there, just in a classic, Black Mirror, fashion. But I don't know, 6 episodes. I think that's what we had. There's one season we had 3 episodes. I think that was the last season. I think we had 6. I think we had 6 last season. Yeah. 5, I think, was the one with 3. That was the one with Miley Cyrus. But yeah, no, I mean, listen, some episodes are better than others. I can't say that I was like super thrilled with season 6, but there's always gems. I mean, that's the great thing with anthologies, right? You may not love every episode or every style or every, script, every director, right? But there's always something for everyone with Black Mirror. I still hands down. Oh my gosh, what's the name of the episode? It is. Oh man, it is on the tip of my tongue. Oh man, but it was the one that won the. I think it won the Oscar, the Emmy. It was the Afterlife one. I don't want to waste too much time looking it up, but hold on, I'm gonna take a look. It was San Junipero. There we go. Don't waste too much time looking, and I'm not gonna edit around that. So, but San Junipero, I'm hands down. Still, I think that is one of the greatest hours of television. Is San Junipero. So that's one I always revisit from time to time. But yeah, bring on season 7. I'm excited. This is for me. This is the new Twilight Zone. Although we did have a new Twilight Zone, which I actually really liked. Unfortunately, people did not agree. So our next story, Leprechaun. So Lionsgate hires Felipe Vargas to reimagine the franchise, and just a little bit of his take. He really he's figuring out the horror comedy blend for this one, right? Because you could get really silly, which they did. We had an interview. Angel and I interviewed Radar just recently, which will be coming out soon. And we were talking about, he always teases her that she never finished all the Leprechaun films, and I was like, do you really have to? And on there, I was like, I think I've seen up to the first Into Hood. But like in there, right, as you have Into Hood, Space, like they're all very silly films. But you can really embrace the comedy. But and I quote here, he wants to make it scary as hell, but also hilarious. So define hilarious, right? Because you could be very slapsticky, like you could go like the Evil Dead route. And almost have like an Ash Williams sort of hero in there and make it very goofy in that sense, but then still have some really creepy imagery, make it really gory. You can go a little more like Scream. You can go that route. I don't know. I don't know how you make it really scary. I think probably part of it is the design. It's the scares. It's how do you do the scares? I would feel like, I don't know, right? Is less is more the approach, but then if you don't really see the Leprechaun, you're not really are you making the Leprechaun a comedian, right? Is he supposed to be like the Freddy Krueger cracking jokes? Like, I don't know how you do it, right? Like, that's not silly, like stupid silly, but genuinely funny. I don't know. I really don't know with this one, but I'll be curious to check it out. And we'll see. Our next story, Joe Dante is directing Little Shop of Halloween Horrors, I believe it's called. It's being produced by Roger Corman, who did this one here, who was part of the original Little Shop of Horrors. Which is a horror comedy, right? We all know the musical, of course, but originally, right, it was this 1960s like sci-fi horror comedy, and which got adapted into the musical, and which is one of my favorite musicals of all time. It's just, I mean, but apparently it's going to jumpstart like a reboot, like sort of a series. So I'd be really curious, right? Like the plants sort of taken over. I mean, in the original, I can't remember how this one ends, but in the the original cut of the musical and how the actual musical ends, like the movie musical ending and then the Broadway musical ending, right? It's the planets win. Uh, so it'd be really interesting if it was almost like Planet of the Apes, but with these plants. That would be kind of cool. Uh, I'd always be down for that. But yeah, what do you think? And last but not least, we have Lee Cronin posted. A deal has been struck with New Line Cinema to create Doppelganger, which will be a sub production company focused on genre work. So he will be kicking off, I think, the first film to be released under this, under Doppelganger, is going to be Thaw, which will be his aquatic horror film. Really curious. There's certainly some competition right there. I mean, Blumhouse has some hits. They haven't been so hot lately. But then you got A24. Really is, I think, is the superstar, right? That's sort of your valedictorian right now, is A24. But we'll see. Can Doppelganger really elevate and sort of be up to par? My guess, based on Evil Dead Rise, I mean, obviously they're gonna have different writers, different directors. Every film's gonna be different. That's what's going on with Blumhouse, I think. That's why you get your Megans, and then which are fun, goofy, and then you get your Halloween Ends, which are very divisive. Believer, which was something, which was definitely something. And I'm trying to think of like the last like really good Blumhouse. I mean, Night Swim. I mean, genuinely really sat down and enjoyed a Blumhouse was Megan. I guess she's my queen. I love me some Megan. Looking forward to Megan 2.0. Just keep the team involved. Keep these things. Don't change anything. Just use those folks, and we'll see what happens. But anywho, Lee Cronin, I really liked Evil Dead Rise. Not one of my favorites, but I enjoyed it. I genuinely really. So I mean, I have good feelings about Doppelganger. This is pretty exciting. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? Are you looking forward to Lee Cronin's new production company? Yeah, and that's really it. That's what we got here on the Coffee Crypt. Thank you so much for joining me this weekend. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And yeah, we will catch you next time. Bye now.